Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We are here today to have an initial IEP for Johnny. My name is Diane Zier, and I am the early childhood special education teacher for our school district. I want to thank all of you for being here. Before we get started, I'd like to take a few minutes to go over some things that will make our meeting run more smoothly. First, let's take a moment to introduce ourselves and briefly mention our role in today's meeting. Again, I am Diane Zier. I'll be our facilitator for today's meeting, and we'll make sure our meeting runs as smoothly as possible by following our agenda, by remaining focused on our topic, and that our meeting timeline and norms are being met. Next, we have our speech and language pathologist. Thank you, everyone, for introducing yourselves. At this time, I'd like to review our meeting guidelines before we go too far along into our meeting here. So here's our meeting guidelines for everyone, and this applies to all the IEP team members. Make sure, number one, ask questions for clarification. Be open to the idea and views of others. Be respectful. Communicate clearly and listen carefully. Honor time limits and stay on task. Share your views willingly, and let's silence all our devices before we get going. Does anybody have any questions? Or would anybody like to add anything else that would help make our meeting run more smoothly? Well, thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Okay, are we all in agreement that these will be the guidelines that we are going to follow? Thank you. I am going to agree on our guidelines so we have a group agreement on these. I'll be doing this at the end of each of our agenda sections to record our group's agreement. So by the end of this meeting, our outcomes will be to have a shared understanding of Johnny's present levels of performance, to have a shared understanding and agreement on goals and objectives, and to have an agreement of educational placement and services. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and especially Johnny's parents for being here. I want to stop for one more second and ask the parents if they have any questions or concerns before we proceed. I know this is a lot of information to take in, so please be sure to stop us at any time during this meeting to ask questions or to clarify something, because all of us are here to support you, and we'll be more than happy to do that for you. Okay, thank you. So we're going to go ahead and continue. On the purpose of our IEP. And excuse me. The purpose of our IEP, this is an initial IEP for Johnny today to go over the results of our assessment and to come to a shared understanding of what his present levels of performance are, a shared understanding and agreement on goals and objectives, and an agreement of educational placement and services by the end of our meeting. So I am going to go ahead and review the academic portion of it, and we'll go ahead and let the rest of our team members review those sections for their areas of specialty. Does everybody agree with that? Okay, so let's give me 1 second so I can pull up. I will pull up our educational report so we can take a look at it. I apologize for not having this pulled up in advance. I should have had it. But we all know how things go during the day. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Just be one more second. We could take a look at the report that we put together for Johnny. And this kind of summarizes all. Whoop, the light went out. This will summarize all of the assessments that were done for each of the service providers. So the purpose. I am sorry. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at Johnny's psychoeducational evaluation that was completed. This is really a summary of all the assessments that were done in the different areas that Johnny shows some need. Johnny's date of birth is January 11, 2017. That makes him 4 years and 2 months. He is a white American Indian, and their primary language spoken at home is English. This is an initial evaluation, and it is for preschool. So Johnny was referred by the parent for an initial psychoeducational evaluation due to concerns related to developmental delays in the areas of speech and language development and social development. The parents have provided documentation indicating that Johnny was diagnosed with autism and speech and language delays. He was previously a regional center client under an IFSP. This evaluation serves to determine Johnny's present levels of functioning, such as his learning strengths and areas of identified needs, the need for systematic general education interventions, to recommend supportive educational strategies, and to assist the IEP team in determining the student's need for intensive level of support offered through the special education program services. It's important to remember that no single test or score will determine a student's eligibility. Test results are examined in conjunction with all available resources and sources of information by the IEP team, including the teachers, parents, specialists, and others. Assessments procedures are selected so as not to discriminate on the basis of gender, culture, language, ethnicity, or disability. In order to complete this evaluation, the following procedures were components of this evaluation. A review of Johnny's records, health and developmental history, development assessment of young children. This is what would be the DAISY 2 for cognitive domain, Connor's early childhood rating scale, the autism spectrum rating scale, the autism diagnostic observation system, 2nd edition, the Vinland adaptive behavior scale, 3rd edition. As per the parent, Johnny lives at home with his mother and his father, and his younger brother. They speak English only at home. Per parent report, Johnny was born full term, and there were no complications reported during pregnancy. He is a healthy child, and his father reported no serious injuries, illnesses, hospitalizations, or allergic reactions to any medications. There were no sleep or appetite problems reported, although he does tend to overeat. Johnny's father reported that he was able to use the restroom independently, although he will sometimes require help cleaning himself after a bowel movement. So I want to stop right there really quickly and ask if there are any questions or concerns before we continue. Okay.
Good afternoon, Antelope. This is Mrs. Dennis.
Johnny was diagnosed with global developmental delay and received a provisional diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder by Dr. James Earhart as part of the 6M Children's Health Center Multidisciplinary Assessment Team. He was also diagnosed with speech and language delay. Following this evaluation, he was referred to Golden Gate Regional Center for Speech and Language Therapy and Child Development Therapy. Current developmental concerns include speech and language skills and Johnny's behavior. He is speaking in primarily single words, for example, food, help, one, look, with the occasional 2 to 3 word phrases, where, dad. His father reported Johnny gets angry and tantrums for long periods of time. When upset, he can engage in aggressive behaviors such as hitting. His social communication skills are an area of concern for his father. He has poor modulated eye contact and speaks using a very stereotyped language and scripts, such as okay and you find it, which he uses repetitively and often outside of context. Father reported that Johnny passed his newborn hearing and vision screenings, and there are no concerns related to hearing or vision at this time. Okay, I am going to go ahead and go over the portion of this report that pertains to where I assessed Johnny. And please let me know if you have any questions, and you can stop me at any time. So I assessed Johnny for his cognitive skills using the Development Assessment of Young Children, which we refer to as the DAISY-2. This is an assessment tool that assesses cognitive development in young children. And this is done through interviews with parents and teachers and direct observation of the child. It measures conceptual skills such as memory, propulsive planning, decision-making, and discrimination. As you can tell here, Johnny's score is a standard of 64 with a percentile of 1, and the description is very poor. Are there any questions on that? Let's go ahead and give a little detail on that. He scored in the very poor range of performance for his overall cognitive development. It's important to remember, though, that at this age, cognitive development is changing rapidly. So this is just a moment in time. Just a moment in time. He was able to spontaneously name at least 5 objects, imitate activities using substitute objects such as a stick for a spoon, stack 7 blocks, sequence related action in play, understand the concept of 1 and maintain simple shapes, such as a triangle, a circle, and a square. However, Johnny struggled to match objects to a corresponding picture, repeat finger plays with words and actions, state his age, nest cup, state his gender, or rote count or count objects to 5. So are there any questions on that? As we indicated earlier, his standard score was 64, and if we look at the chart here, with the average standard score of 100, Johnny falls below the 70 here, which is in the very low range for him. So for his pre-academics, I used a teacher created an assessment that really is based on pre-academic skills aligned to state standards. The assessment was administered in English, which is Johnny's home language. So for personal information, okay, Johnny was unresponsive when he asked his name, age, and gender. He actually continued playing, ignoring the examiner, and did not make any eye contact. I'm sorry. His father also reported that he is unable to state his name, age, or gender accurately in the home environment. For colors, Johnny was unresponsive when asked to match, point to, or name colors. He continued playing with preferred toys and would not make eye contact with me. At home, his father reports that he sometimes is able to point to red and green, but is inconsistent. For shapes, Johnny was able to match shapes using one of those shape sorting trays. He did enjoy this task and was engaged in sorting shapes. However, he was not responsible when I asked him to point or name shapes. He ignored me and continued playing with the shape sorter. Let's take a brief pause here. Any questions, Mom? Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go ahead. For songs and alphabet, Johnny does sing songs at home and he enjoys singing along with the cartoons. However, he does not currently appear in movement with music. He does not yet identify any letters of the alphabet. For numbers, Johnny was able to count objects to 2. He was unresponsive when asked to count or identify numbers on a number line. His father reports that he cannot consistently demonstrate counting skills at home. For fine motor, when Johnny is holding a crayon, he uses a pincer grasp with this. He was able to imitate a vertical and horizontal line, but he was not able to imitate more complex shapes such as a circle, the letter X, or a plus sign. For identification of body parts, Johnny was unresponsive with me when I asked him to point to or name different body parts, such as his head, his eyes, his nose, and his mouth. His father reports that at home he will sometimes point to his head, his ears, his eyes, his nose, his foot, and hand, but he is not naming any body parts at home. And then finally, for the concepts, Johnny was unresponsive when asked to identify objects that were very big versus very little, on top versus bottom, or objects that were on, under, or next to a box. So are there any questions on my portion of the evaluation? I'm going to go ahead and continue on, but I wanted to make sure that I have answered any questions you have. And I know there's a lot of information, so Mom, I have given you my contact information, so you can call me at any time if you have any more questions or need me to go over any of this information. And for that matter, any of the IEP team will be willing to help you with any of this if you have any questions. Because a lot of times we don't have questions during the meeting, but some may come up afterward when we're reviewing everything that we went through. And I know that there's a lot. So I really want to thank you for attending to that portion of the meeting with me. So I'm going to go back here to our IEP agenda. I'm going to stop right now for my portion. And I just want to make it understood that we haven't come to any conclusion yet about his educational placement and services until all the members have reported, and then we as a team can discuss it. Thank you very much, Mom. Okay. All right. Thank you. I really appreciate you being here.